step process, like a process that we can follow. So we have a guru, our author and guru. Her name is Sarah Hilliard, and she talks to us about STEAM, and she proposes a 5-step process. Step number 1, we want students to listen and watch. When we're teaching English, especially to young learners, they really need lots of modeling, like an I do part. We should model a little bit, but not everything. Like if we model the whole process, there's no challenge. So students, it will just be like following and imitating. And what we want is to set the challenge and to give them like the first steps for them to go ahead and observe. How can we do this in an online teaching approach? Well, we can have like little pre-recorded videos, simple, just a homemade video is okay. We can record ourselves using a cell phone, and we can upload this to Google Classroom, or we can send it via WhatsApp. If you want to get very techy, there's also an app called Flipgrid, and it's wonderful for sharing videos and interacting with video. So we can do this, like this is the first step. Then we need to make sure students plan and predict. Students often want to go ahead and do things, and they are not very structured. So what we can do is, okay, if it's an experiment, let's try to define what the steps of the experiment are and make some predictions on that. Or it doesn't have to be an experiment. It can be creating something, doing something, finding a solution to something. So they can draw like the whole model or design of whatever they will create. In this plan and prediction part, students will also engage in doing some research. And doing research with little kids, it's pretty hard because they can find lots of inappropriate content out there. So we have different engines or browsers that they can use and that they are safe. One of them is Kiddle, the other one is KidRex, or WakiSafe. That's another engine for young learners. It's very safe, and it's from Microsoft. So we can use this, technology. This is like the technological part to benefit research. We want students to make those predictions and to investigate a little bit, do some research on that. And then we want them to do like the actual hands-on part, which is the exploring part. During the exploration part, we want students to create things or to do an experiment or something, so they can record themselves, take pictures, their evidence. They can do these like in an e-portfolio to show evidence of what they've done, or something very simple. They can just draw or write down what they did if they don't have access to much technology. Then we want students to record their findings. So what did I learn? What did I do? What happened? Can I compare those predictions I made before the experiments to what actually happened? Can I compare my design or my model that I did first to what it actually came back? Because perhaps I changed my mindset and I said, okay, I want to do something else. It turned out into something else. So this recording part is super important as for students to compare what they planned or what they predicted to what the actual outcome was. And finally, we want students to present and to reflect. And George was talking about having a growth mindset. So here, what worked well, what didn't work well. If it didn't work, it doesn't matter. Like, we went through the process. What did I learn? What can I learn from mistakes? How can I make my work better? I do better. Let's join my work with another team's work and let's come up with a better, even better solution, collaboration. So all of this process focuses a lot. All of these steps, they focus a lot on building collaborative skills, communication skills, and critical thinking, and lots of empathy and dealing, with frustration. Okay, George, go ahead.
Thank you, Leon. Okay, so now we're getting into the part of the online tools. Now, before we start, this is going to be quite dynamic. Before we start, I want you to know that no matter how many apps or tools or resources we use, the most important part in the process is the methodology and the approach that we apply. As teachers, we modify, we are going to create, and we are going to adapt the content according to our students' needs. the applications, the resources, the websites that we may use are not going to do everything for us. We have to contextualize these tools into a lesson plan created by us and according to our students' needs. So this is very important. With this in mind, I would like to start with one specific example. So we're going to talk a little bit about what makes objects sync or flow. And for this activity, while I prepare my cell phone, I would like to ask you, I have 6 objects in here. We have a boat, we have some coins, a pencil, an apple, a car. Well, the boat and the car are toys, basically, and some marbles. So can you tell me which ones would you think would sink or float in a water, in a pool? If you can type in your answers in the chat, and Leo, can you help me out reading the answers while I prepare the presentation?
It's okay. I'm doing that. I'm right on this. No comments so far.
So which ones would you think will sink or float?
Well, I think, let me give you my prediction. I think the pencil will sink.
Okay.
And the marble.
You think the pencil and the marbles will sink. Why is that, Leo?
Because they're heavy. They're really heavy. That, like the density, okay?
Okay.
So we have some people saying the pencil will float. So some people disagree with me. The pencil will float.
Oh, there you go. Quite interesting.
The apple will sink.
Okay.
The pencil will float. Lots of people saying the pencil will float. The marble will sink. Okay.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so the first application, it's an app. We are going to see only apps. So the first one, it's called Play and Learn Engineering Educational STEM Games. Okay, so this is how it will look if you look for the app in Play Store, in Google, or in iOS, in the App Store. This is the name of the application, and I'm using software to mirror my cell phone. Let me. There you go. I'm gonna close this. There you go. Hopefully you can see my cell phone. There you go. And
yes, you're able to see yourself.
Open. There you go. Okay, nice. So I'm going to open the first app. It's taking some time to open. There you go. There it is, Play and Learn Science. I'm gonna click in here. There you go. So this application allows students to experiment some situations related with science. They will have to complete some examples, some activities, and discover the information behind the experiment, behind the game. So let's, I'm having a little lag in my app. There you go. It's charging. There you go. So this is how it looks. I'm gonna click on play, and there you go. So we have different experiments in here: the water wall, thirsty doggy, and if you can notice, here is my experiment: sink or float. So I'm gonna click in there, and now we have the introduction. And just like I asked you at the beginning, what objects would you think will sink or float specifically? So I have a bunch of different objects in here. I have a boat, I have a coin, I have the pencil, the crayon, I have some balls, a football, a basketball, a volleyball. I have some marbles over there, the lemon, the football, and a little car. So students, I don't know if you can listen to the app. I'm not sure if you can listen, but the app has sound. So the very first question that the app asked the students was, what objects would you believe or would you think sink or float? So I'm going to select the pencil, which is one of the objects I use in the PowerPoint presentation. And
there's a debate with the apple.
There's a debate with the apple. Okay, let's choose the apple. If you can notice, the pencil, it's floating. Okay, so now let's click in here and let's choose the apple. There you go. I'm gonna choose the apple, and the apple is floating. The apple will float. What about one of the marbles? I think Leo said that the marbles will sink. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, so I'm
definitely.
gonna select the marble and look, the
Ooh.
marble sinks. And because it's sinking, now the application told me that the mass of the object takes place in this experiment. Now, what would happen if I choose the ball? Let's put a ball in here.
What happens when you put an object into the
Now
bowl?
we can hear.
Oh, there you go. Nice. So what happens if we put another object into the bowl? So the ball is floating. I'm going to choose, I don't know, let's choose the coin. I'm gonna put a coin in here. It's still floating. I'm gonna put the crayon.
Can you make a floating object sink?
So can we make a floating object sink? And now let's choose this one,
The
the
bowling ball.
bowling ball.
Blow the red whistle to clear the pool.
And as you can see, the mass is it's way too heavy. So all of the objects, including
Tap
the
the red
marble,
whistle to clear the pool.
and the coin, I believe we put in there, will sink. So if we tap the whistle, the pool will get clear. And with this, our students can get a little idea in a digital way of how the experiment will work in real life. We have
So
a
we can
lot
use
of
this during the explore, like the
correct.
explore step, the third step. These are very handy tools and using simple apps, free apps for our explore step.
Correct. Thank you, Leo. Let's go to another app. Let me close this one so we can open another one. I'm gonna close this one. There you go. Now you can see my cell phone. I'm going to go to the presentation now. The second app, it's called Zizzle Inventions, okay? This is how it would look in your app store. Again, these ones are available for Android or iOS. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my screen mirroring app and where is it? Oh, right there. So I'm going to click in the application. So this application will allow students to explore the science behind specific inventions. Okay, so they will look at the specific objects of the specific inventions, and they will analyze and learn how they work and what's the science behind these inventions. I personally like the roller coaster. I really like this type of ride, so I'm gonna select this one. There you go.
So this is wonderful for curiosity, no? Triggering curiosity in students.
Correct. So I don't know if you can listen to the application.
Not that much. But...
momentum, the car can move itself. And that's why every hill gets a little bit smaller. As the train goes through the
so the application is giving the explanation how the science works, what is the behind of all of the momentum, the speed, the velocity of the invention. And finally, when we reach the final point, we can click in there, and to learn some more vocabulary, we have to reassemble all of the objects. So I have to take this one, and the application will give me the vocabulary, the name of that specific object. So this is a safety bar, for example. So I'm going to put it here. This is the seat. So I'm going to place both seats in there. And this is another safety bar. I'm going to place it right there. This is the track. So I'm going to place it right there. These are the running wheels. The side wheels. Oh, there you go. The side wheels and the brakes. And there you go. So we have different inventions in here, different objects in which we can explore and see the science behind them. I don't know if we have comments in the chat, Leo.
So far, no comments, George.
Okay, let's go to the next one. This one is quite nice as well. The name is Science Experiments in School Lab. Now this one, again, you can download the application for both systems, Android and iOS. And I really like this one as well, because these are actual step-by-step experiments in a virtual, in a digital lab. Let me find it. This is the one. I'm going to click in here. There you go. So we have 3 categories in here. I'm going to click and play. We can do some experiments. We can become an alchemist, and we can make compounds. That's a brand new one in the application. And because it's a free app, we have some ads in this one, so we have to close those apps. I'm going to select do the experiments. Okay, I'm going to click in here, and I think I'm having some lag again. Let's wait a little bit. There you go. So we have different experiments to complete throughout the whole app. For example, this one says generate electricity from a potato, blowing candles with CO2, with carbon dioxide. We can make your own water pump, make a colored rain. We have different experiments. I'm going to choose, I don't know, I kind of, this one. I'm sorry, we have some ads in here. There, I'm gonna close the ads. Let me, give me 1 second to connect again the application. Hold on. Let me go back to the app.
It's okay. So while George does this, what we can do is like, we can have apps, we can use some apps, which are very handy and very useful, but we will also learn about some alternatives that we have for STEAM using very easy materials that students can have at home, like, I don't know, foil paper, like aluminum foil, or, you know, rolls of toilet paper, sticks, cards, newspaper. We are also going to get into those. Okay.
I don't know if we can see my screen now. I think
Yes.
it's working.
Go ahead, George.
Okay. Thank you, Leo. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm gonna choose this one, make your own water pump. I'm gonna click in here. Let me close this ad. There you go. So we selected this exercise or this experiment, and look, since the beginning, the application is going to give us the whole the materials that we're going to use throughout this experiment. We need the balloon, we need a drill machine, the glue gun, the plastic bottle, small glass, a straw, water, and an air pump. Okay, so actually we can do this one, these experiments in a real situation, but the application is going to do the process for us. Okay, I'm going to close it here. Let's make your own water pump with a balloon and a bottle. Okay, so we have all of the objects in here, and the application is going to guide me through the whole process to complete the exercise or the experiment. I hope you can listen to the application. I'm going to click in here. There you go. So we have to make a small hole in the bottle. So I'm going to take this one right there. So we need to put the straw through the hole, a straw through the hole. There you go. We are going to seal the hole with the glue. There you go. And we are going to take the empty glass and put it right below the straw. There you go. We're going to remove the bottle cap right here. And I'm guessing we're gonna put there the water first. Okay, so we're gonna put some water in there. There you go. We're gonna use the balloon. So I don't know you guys, but this is, for me, this is quite interesting because
Sophisticated.
it's the whole process of the experiment, but in a digital way. This is, to me, this is quite nice. So there you go. So the air
Wonderful.
pushes the water into the straw. Okay. At the end of the exercise or at the end of the experiment, we will have like explanation, a scientific explanation of why the water jumps into the or goes through the straw into the glass. This is quite nice, and there are a lot of different experiments in here, and not only the experiments, chemical experiments with the chemistry side, and compounds. You can create compounds combining oxygen, water, lemon, creating dioxides, and so forth. So this is, to me, this is one of my favorites. Okay, so let me go to the other one. Time is running, so let me go to the final app. I'm gonna close this one. I don't know, Leo, do we have comments or questions in the chat?
Just like wonderful ideas and cool ideas. Okay.
Nice, nice. Okay, the final one, it's called Science Town Kids Electricity STEAM or STEM Learning Games. So in this application, we are going to learn everything about energy and electricity and what objects in our house actually use energy or consume electricity. Let me find the application. This is the one. I'm going to click in here. There you go. So the last two application, the last two apps, I'm showing this one and the last one. The only problem is that we have to set up the language in English, right? So by default, the applications will start working in Spanish, but we can switch the language to English. And I'm gonna get into the house, and like I said, we have to find objects objects, items that we have in our house that will work with the electricity, that will consume electricity. So if you can see, we have our energy bar right here, and we have to find what objects will use this energy. So I'm gonna click in here, for example, in the TV, and click again, and look, the TV is one of those objects that will consume energy. We have over here an air conditioner. So I'm gonna click in here. It's off, and now I'm gonna turn it on again, and we are using energy as well. I'm gonna move to the kitchen
analysis. Students will be analyzing.
Right,
cause
correct.
Effect. Lots of conclusions drawn.
Let me move to the kitchen. There you go. Now look at the stove. So I'm gonna click in here. Oh, there you go. And click again, and look, this is another way of consuming energy. When we are using the stove, we are consuming energy as well. I'm gonna close the fridge. I don't know why the fridge is open. There you go. The refrigerator uses energy as well. So we have a bunch of different objects in this app in our house. As you can see, this is just a regular house, and we can see different objects throughout the bathroom. For example, this is quite interesting because I saw this.
We're having some questions. Would you mind if I answered them quickly? These apps are available. Yes, they are available in the App Store and in Google Store, and they are free. All of the ones that we have, George has been showing you, they're all free. Okay, for iOS and Android. Okay, and in English. So time's running, George. I don't know if you want to.
Yes, I know. I'm sorry. So yes, I'm going to close this one. Yes, Leo, I'm really sorry. So these are 4 applications that we can use with our students. Okay, and they're totally free. Like Leo said, these are totally free. And these applications, I like these applications because they will help you connect the content. Remember, I told you this at the beginning. The apps will not do the whole process of teaching for you. You will have to create a context with the 5 steps that Leo just shared with us previously, and then use in one specific part of those 5 steps the application. Usually in the explore section, where they can discover the science behind all of these situations, all of these objects, inventions, experiments. These are quite nice. These apps are very, very dynamic. They're very easy to handle, and like I said,
and they're free. That's the best
they're free.
part.
They're free. Excellent. So let's go to the next slide. How can we connect this in the ELT world? Leo.
Well, as we were talking about, like with science, it's not only, knowing about science, knowing about math, but we need to do something with these. So we can have like very simple ideas with very simple materials. Students can even choose their materials. This is an example that we have in our Pearson Experiences page, where you can find lots of ideas for STEAM activities using very simple materials. And we can also get students, choose their own materials. And for example, if they're building a tower, young learners can use descriptive language, such as, I don't know, this is my tower, it is blue, it is tall, it has 3 round windows, and so on. So we want students to use descriptive words, adjectives, use the famous verb to be and the has and have, So we can use lots of language and very, very simple materials. Can we go on to the next slide?
Yes.
This is another example of an activity that we can use, let's say, with older learners, so they can build, a ramp and to pull or push or slide an object up or down a ramp, and they can make predictions. So if I change the surface, if the surface is rough or soft, it will. Or if this, then, or the will, the future tense. So they can use lots of language that we always want students to use, but we want them to give them a meaningful context where they can apply, and they can use different. This exercise combines, for instance, technology. It is not technology like apps and things like that, but it's simple. A pulley is technology, a ramp is technology. We can use very simple things as technology as well. And it also combines science, and it also combines language, okay? Another example that we can have in the next slide is, for example, building airplanes. So we give students instructions as on how to build or make 2 airplanes and compare them. This one is faster, this one is slower, I don't know. And they use comparatives. So we can also involve lots of meaningful English language teaching activities in experiments and in creating things. Remember, STEM or STEAM is not only about experiments, it's also about creating, that's why we added the A, because the A talks about creativity. What can a scientist do without creativity? What can a mathematician do without creativity? So this creative part component is also really important. Let's go on, George. We're running out of time. Okay, so as a wrap up, we would like to show just a quick video. I don't know if we have time for that. Can you tell us?
Yes, we do have. I think we have time for the video. Yes.
All right, good. So let's show the video. I wonder if you know who she is.
There's nothing really more gratifying, at least in my experience, than being able to realize a part of yourself that you had previously set aside. I'm Maya Bialik. When I was about 15 years old, on the set of Blossom, which was the TV show that I was working on, I had a tutor for biology. It was the first time that I met someone who made me believe that I could pursue a life of being a scientist. After Blossom ended, I was 2 years out of high school. I put acting on hold, and I went to get my degree in science. A lot of our ideas about ourselves, I found, were already pretty well solidified, and the notion that I couldn't do science and I wasn't good at math, those stuck. Well, I wish I could be a scientist, but I'm just so not good at math and science, and that's how I talked when I was 15 and screwed. But it was this woman who believed in me and who believed that having a passion for something is a reason to try and learn a skill set around it. What do you want to do? You know, what is calling you? What if you work hard and you put in that effort to learn to be a different version of yourself? It's hard not to look back at that set of decisions I made and say, like, wow, that was an act of bravery. I definitely felt nervous. What if I fail? What if my passion isn't enough? What if I don't really have what it takes? Those are scary things to think about. But I think that part of it is a leap of faith. You know, life is kind of divided into those moments of like, do you believe something's possible that you can't imagine? Or do you not? We can learn new information. We can learn a new vocabulary. We have that ability, and that's magical. I think the very first moment that felt like that was like the moment you open a book, the moment you start using your brain the way that we can. It would be really amazing if, you know, I could sit here and say like, nothing should stop you from doing exactly what you want to do, whether it be time or money, or even just, you know, preconceived notions we have about ourselves. There are opportunities for people to learn when they can't learn in the traditional way, as it were. And I have many friends who have pursued degrees online and who have completed degrees online. And the sense of satisfaction and the sense of accomplishment is tremendous. And it also opens up so many other avenues of life. It was not always easy, but it was so exciting. And I think that if I could talk to my younger self, that's what I would have wanted her to know. Learning is worth it. And pursuing it even when you're uncomfortable is also worth it. And that's been really amazing. I have a set of knowledge now that that makes me really proud, you know. And when you like RSVP for a wedding and it says, what's your title? I always check off doctor. I guess because I can.
So as my embryology, I didn't know she was a neuroscientist, but as she says, learning is worth it. And she was inspired by a tutor. She was inspired by a teacher. So this is the main message that we want. We have a real complex world that we were talking about at the beginning. We have lots of uncertainty and difficult and complex situations, but we teachers, we have the opportunity to inspire students into science, into technology, into math, into engineering and arts, so that they can build a better future and that they can be better prepared so they can face this complexity in the world. And STEAM really gives us the way, like the process, the 5 steps that we can follow to inspire students, which is what we can actually do in a classroom, in a virtual classroom in this case. George.
Let's bring more girls into this wonderful world. Let's try to be inclusive in this part. I know we can do it. This is a world and a universe open to everyone, boys and girls for equal. Okay. If you can help us out for this final activity, this is a QR code in which you can evaluate the session and see if you know, leave us your comment, your opinion on the session in the link, which I think Leo can share with you in the chat in a moment. You will be able to find both of our names, Leonor Uribe and Jorge Torres. So please leave us your comments, your evaluation, help us to improve on our performance and the way we share knowledge with you guys. And I hope you enjoy the session. Thank you very much for your time. Leo, thank you very much for being here and sharing this moment with me. And thank you very much, everyone. I don't know if you have questions or comments, doubts. This is your...
Okay, so some teachers are asking us to repeat the names of the apps. Would you please mind going back to those
names
3
of
or
the
4
apps?
apps?
Yes.
Those slides, well, they help us out with the feedback. Okay, so
so the first one, there you go. So this is the first one, Play and Learn Science. This is how it would look in your app store. If you want to take a screenshot, for example, that would help a lot. That's the first one. The second one, it's this one, Zizzle Inventions. Okay. The next one, Science Experiments in School Lab.
Great.
You can pay for extra features in this one. To be honest, I have never paid for those features. The free features are more than enough in my personal point of view. And the last one, Science Town, Kids Electricity, Same Learning Games. These are the 4 apps that we used today.
Okay. Okay, so they are asking us to repeat the framework, the steps of the approach. So could you please again go back to the slide? So the first one, so that you can take pictures, right? Okay, so the first one is the modeling part, like teachers setting the challenge. So when students need to listen and to watch. Remember, we model just a little part of the challenge. We don't model the whole process to avoid giving away mindsets. Then we have the planning and prediction, where students can draw, and do some research and design whatever they will create. And then we want them to explore and to actually create things that they have. Afterwards, we want them to record their findings and compare their predictions to what actually came up with the experiment or their design to what they finally made or created. And then we want them to reflect on how they did. Okay. So I hope, Teacher Angel, I have answered your question. And well, I guess there are no further questions, George.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. Really, I'm really grateful with you because you enlightened us with so many information that really help us as teachers. And well, we're gonna show this certificate for you. Thank you, Leonor, for being here with us.
Thank you.
Applauses for you. We cannot share a lot of applauses, but we are with our hearts. We're really thankful with you. Also, we're really thankful with you. Let me a moment, please, Jorge. This is also another certificate for you, Jorge. Thank you so much for being with us. And well, goodbye to you, but thank you so much. And for the rest of you, teachers and people, we continue with the next session in a minute. So thank you and goodbye.
Have a wonderful weekend. Take care. Thanks, Leo.
Have a wonderful weekend. Bye.
Thank you.
A toda la comunidad de la Asociación Mexicana de Maestros de Inglés Mextesol, nos sentimos agradecidos en Puebla por haber sido seleccionados para llevar a cabo la edición 48ª de su Convención Nacional en el año 2021. En esta hermosa ciudad contamos con una extraordinaria conectividad tanto aérea como terrestre. A solo 90 minutos está la Ciudad de México. A 200 kilómetros a la redonda de Puebla se encuentran más de 40 millones de habitantes que se pueden desplazar fácilmente en vehículo para llegar a este destino. Contamos con una infraestructura hotelera de primer nivel con más de 13,000 habitaciones en la ciudad, que por cierto, en el año 1987 fue nombrada por la UNESCO como Patrimonio Mundial de la Humanidad por sus más de 2,600 edificios históricos, que son majestuosos. Somos cuna de la gastronomía, una ciudad que simplemente lo tiene todo. Historia, modernidad, cultura y por supuesto diversión. Estamos seguros que en Puebla, en conjunto con ustedes, realizaremos la edición más importante de Mextesol en su historia. Los invito a ver este video y conocer un poco más de nuestro hermoso estado. Bienvenidos.
Me llamo Mónica, soy poblana y artesana. Cada vez que trabajo la colorida talavera siento que cuento una historia, y aunque utilizo mis manos siempre me guía el corazón. Me inspira lo que veo todos los días en Puebla. Sus hermosos edificios coloniales, la diversidad de sus municipios y de sus pueblos mágicos. No importa cuántas veces los mire, sus paisajes me siguen robando el aliento. También me inspira lo que escucho. Desde el llamado a la aventura de sus zonas arqueológicas hasta los secretos que me susurran sus bibliotecas y sus monumentos. ¿Y qué me dicen de sus sabores? Créanme, Puebla es la cocina de México. El mole poblano, las chalupas, el tradicional mole de caderas, las semitas, los dulces típicos y nuestros emblemáticos chiles en nogada. Pero entre tanta belleza lo que más me inspira es la sonrisa de la gente. Es un milagro que te permite abrazar la historia de cientos de años en un mismo instante. Es presenciar las maravillas que los hombres creamos y las que nos fueron regaladas. Tal vez por eso la llaman Puebla de Los Ángeles, porque venir a Puebla es tocar un pedacito de cielo. Es dejarse sorprender por la belleza de sus desiertos, sus bosques y sus cascadas, que nos cuentan la importancia de la herencia cultural que se transmite de generación en generación. En Puebla somos cultura y diversión, la esencia del pasado y la promesa del futuro, el alma que palpita detrás de cada obra de arte, un mosaico de emociones que te erizan la piel. Me gustaría que todo el mundo viniera a conocer lo que yo veo a diario, porque estoy segura de que se enamorarán de Puebla y se llevarán a casa mucho más que una artesanía. Se llevarán una gran historia que jamás olvidarán.
Puebla, el patrimonio de México.
Good morning again. So today we're here with Suzanne Bardasz, and who has worked as an e-learning and instructional design fellow for Bound International as an academic coordinator for UOP International. She previously taught at UC Davis for 6 years and at Korea Advanced Institute for Science and Technology in Daejeon. Is that correct?
Yes,
South
that's correct.
Korea for nearly 5 years. I have already seen your presentations at TESOL, and it's great to have you here with us. So enjoy our session. The session is called Nearpod, Engage in Digital Content for Virtual Environments. Thank you, Suzanne. The floor is all yours.
You're welcome. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. I'm really happy to meet with you on virtually and tell you a little bit about Nearpod. In a moment, I'm going to share my PowerPoint just to give you a brief overview of Nearpod and why this could be a really great tool for you. And then afterwards, we will go on to Nearpod itself, and I'll show you some examples as well. So just to let you know, I already told Erica this, that I'm going to wait to answer your questions towards the end of my session, mainly because I may be answering your question as we go along, but then please feel free to submit your questions through the comments. And I've already told Erica too that if anything happens, if that you can't hear me or you can't see what's going on, I told Erica, please interrupt me and we'll try to situate everything from there. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to, again, quickly share with you a PowerPoint just to give you a brief overview. Okay, and let's have my PowerPoint work. Okay. All right, so again, my name is Suzanne. I'm very happy to meet with you and talk to you a little bit about Nearpod today, especially in terms of it making engaging digital content for virtual learning environments. So again, as I mentioned today, we'll talk very briefly about what this past year has been like in terms of transition to remote learning and the challenges and how Nearpod could be one of those solutions that could help either instructors as they continue doing remote teaching and learning, or are new to online teaching as we have new teachers join our field. So I'll explain to you what Nearpod is. I'll show you some examples of Nearpod, including how as an instructor I've used it, and then how a student could be able to use it. And hopefully we'll try this out. We'll see how it works. We will have you maybe join a Nearpod experience so you can see from a student's perspective what it's like. Then we'll end with some final thoughts, and of course we'll answer any questions that you may have. So we know this past year on March 11th, we've marked the 1-year anniversary where we've had the COVID-19 has been declared a pandemic. And for many people, many teachers around the world, we've had to very quickly transition to remote learning. And through the past few years, even before 2020, we've seen a lot of transition for different programs to do some kind of online learning or remote teaching. And that's how I, as an instructor, became really interested in technology, because there's so many tools that are out there that could be really used for our students and for you as teachers. And I remember last year when I was helping some teachers with their transition to remote learning, I was trying to say, you know, this could be a really great opportunity because there's so many tools that are out there. Our students are using them. This could be a really great chance for you to help and integrate them within your classes. But as most of us have experienced, and even someone like myself who was really interested in using technology, it was really difficult, especially in terms of finding high quality tools that can be useful. So this was a study from 2016. McNeil interviewed public school teachers in America, and he was asking them a little bit about their experience about, you know, we have technology. Do you want to use it? Why aren't you using it if you're not using it in technology? And teachers said, well, yeah, I can see the technology is beneficial, but I don't have enough knowledge. Maybe I don't have enough skills, or I don't have enough time on how to implement it. And that became really apparent this past year, from my own experience in terms of coaching teachers on how do we make this transition to this remote teaching and learning. But even for myself, I was overwhelmed too, because all of a sudden, a lot of ed tech companies realize, we now have a new market. We have an opportunity to really integrate technology and we can promote our tools. And I was getting all these emails from these different companies saying, try this, try this, try this, try this. And it became even overwhelming for someone like myself who's really into teaching with technology. So it was overwhelming, and it still is overwhelming because it's really hard to find tools and to keep track of the tools and then have your students keep track of the tools on top of everything else that teachers have been asked to do this past year. So one tool that I found before this transition to remote learning that I think could be really beneficial, and a lot of people have been starting to use it within their own classes, is called Nearpod. Nearpod is a website, and it's also an app. And as you'll see in a moment when I will be showing you this, it allows you to create content and use pre-made content. And if you look at the top heading, Nearpod's motto is spend less time planning and more time teaching. And as you'll see in a moment, that philosophy really shows, because we as teachers, we have a lot of things on our plate that we need to keep track of. We need to, keep track and doing all these assignments and things our administrators want us to do. We don't have time to really plan. I want to spend more time teaching. And then creating lesson plans from scratch or finding supplemental materials is going to be really challenging. So Nearpod helps you with that. There are a variety of different activities that you can use, which you'll see in a moment. There are polls. There are writing assignments you can have students do, drawing, and videos. What's also nice is that it keeps a record of student-made work in what's called reports, which I'll show you in a moment. And what's also great is that it's code access. Some tools that are out there that are great, they require students to create an account. And on top of everything else, especially in this past year, it's hard to keep track, your students to keep track of their accounts, you to keep track of the accounts, and then you have to resend the account information. Nearpod, what's great about it, as you'll see when we'll try an activity later on, it's code access. And you just need to give the students a code, and the students will be able to access the lesson or the activity that you're using with Nearpod through a code. So that gives you a little bit of a background behind it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the website itself and talk to you a little bit more about Nearpod. So I'm going to stop sharing down here. And I'm going to very quickly go to the website. Okay, so here's a website. It's called Nearpod, and you can go here where it says nearpod.com. And Nearpod is also an app that you could have students download. It could be a student app or a teacher's app, and it is free. There are some elements, just to let you know, there are some things that you do have to pay for, like other ed tech tools that are out there. They realize, okay, we can start making profits from it. But the tools that I'll show you today, you can do a lot on a free account. So I just recommend signing up for free. The paid version of Nearpod is really more for if you're having all of your teachers or your colleagues want to use it, they want to help in supporting in terms of the space that you can have. Maybe you could make it branded a little bit, but otherwise, if you want to look at it later on at the pricing, you can see that free version is probably the best way, and you can do a lot with the free version. The website, again, you can look at your own time, talks a little bit about Nearpod, which I'll be showing you in just a moment. But I just want to show you that Nearpod works with a lot of things that you're already using. And that's been something that they've been doing the past few years. So if you're using another LMS or other tools such as Google, Microsoft, Google Classroom, Canvas, other features, Nearpod has some integration with all those other tools as well. So that's another great thing about it, is that Nearpod has this integration. Nearpod is also can be integrated with Zoom, and this is a new feature. And I believe, unfortunately, I think that's a paid feature for Nearpod. But what I'm going to show you, I can talk to you about how you can use Nearpod if you don't have the paid version. Again, you can do a lot of it with just the free version itself. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to enter through it from the teacher's perspective, and I'm just going to show you from a teacher's point of view how I have used Nearpod and give you some thoughts about how you could use Nearpod yourself. So I'm going to log in. Again, you can log in. Once you set up your account, you can log in with Google or with Microsoft. Let me just log in with my account. And here you go. Okay, so when you log in as an instructor, it will always take you here where it says My Library. My Library, this is the space where you can store all your activities, all your lessons related to your Nearpod itself. And then we have a few things on the left-hand side over here. We have reports, which I will talk to you a little bit about later. We have teacher resources. So Nearpod, like other tools that are out there, they really want to support teachers using Nearpod. But what you as an instructor, especially the first time you're using it, you're going to go over here to the left-hand side where it says Nearpod Library, because this is the place where you're going to look up teacher content. So I'm going to click here. And then here you can see all the different activities or lessons that are made. These are pre-made either by Nearpod or through its collaborations with other organizations. So as you can see, Calm is an app. There are some other partnerships that Nearpod is trying to use. So if you're using different textbooks or different websites, they have been linking different lessons and activities that you could integrate together. So this is where you would look just to try to find some content that you want to use for your classes. Over here on the left-hand side, this is your search area, and you can search based on different areas. You can search the different lessons, activities, or videos. You can look based on standards. Standards here, these are based on American, US standards. So each state in America, they have different education standards that they want their students to look at. It's still maybe good or interesting for you just to know what are different standards that are out there, but that's just for you to know. Here we have the subject areas. So we have English language arts, math, science, social studies, other technology. So if you're teaching English, and especially English for a different content area, or if you're in a high school and you're teaching science, but through English, these are different subject areas where you can find different activities. And over here, the grade levels that you want to find the different activities. So I'm going to do an example of how I would find activities. So I'm going to search for lessons. I'm going to look English language arts. And let's say I'm teaching 6th grade. I'm going to teach 6th grade here. And as you can see, as I was clicking on these different subjects and standards and grades, on the right-hand side, you can see that things are changing. So here are a list of different lessons that I could use with my students, and they provide some different content that I can use. So I'm going to use this example right here. So perspective analysis. So we're going to watch a video and look at a poem more in depth. So, as a teacher, I think, okay, this sounds interesting. So I'm going to click down here where it says preview lesson. So once it does that, it takes you to this screen here. Now, this preview that it's showing, it's a different preview from a student preview. And I'm going to show you the difference between a teacher preview and a student preview in just a moment. Right now, this lesson is showing from a teacher's perspective, a teacher preview. So I'm thinking, okay, I need to teach poem to my students. I'm going to look at this poem more in depth. So let me preview this lesson. What does it look like? So I click here. Here it gives some background information. Okay, so we're going to watch a video of Amanda Gorman. She was the youngest inaugural poet to deliver a poem at a presidential inauguration. This is what we want the activity to be. We're going to watch the poem. We're going to have students think about the window. Is it similar to their experiences, or a mirror, or reflects some things of my experience? Okay, sounds interesting. Let me keep going. So we would have students watch the video. We don't have time, so we'll just skip the video, but the students would watch a video as part of the activity. And then after they watch the activity, they would participate in a discussion board. And a discussion board, which I'll show you how that works in just a moment. Here's a question that the students would respond. They would type their answers, and their answers would appear on a board. Okay, that sounds interesting. Let me keep going. Okay, there would be a poll. The students would say, answer which of the following aspects of your identity did we think about during today's activity? The students would choose their answer. And then they would type or write what they learned or what they would do. Okay, sounds interesting. Okay, thank you. And credits and sources. Okay. So again, this is from a teacher's perspective. I'm thinking, should I use this lesson or not? So from looking and examining this lesson, let's just say, okay, this lesson would fit what I want to do with my students. So if I choose to use this lesson or activity, I would click down here where it says add to my lessons. Okay, so it says lesson successfully added. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say show in my lessons. It's the same button that we showed before. And here's the lesson again. But let me look at this a little bit more in depth. So again, Nearpod creates pre-made content. So as you can see, here's the pre-made content that Nearpod created for us. But as teachers, we know our students, we know our teaching context, we know the lessons or the curriculum that we have to meet or teach. Maybe I'm looking at it and think, oh, I like it, but there's some things that are missing. There's some things that I want to add to this lesson. So down here below, there's a small button that says edit. So I would click on it. Nearpod's going to ask me, okay, you're going to edit a downloaded lesson. You can keep a copy of the original or you can edit. So we want to edit this lesson. So I would click this white button right here, edit lesson. Okay, and here it is. So here is that lesson that we looked at, and we're thinking to ourselves, okay, there's some things I like about this lesson, but there's some things that I want to add for my students. So I can do several things with different slides. I can move the slides around. Maybe I want to move things into a different order. I can also delete certain slides. So maybe I don't need a thank you slide. I can just click and delete it. Okay, so this seems to look a little bit better. I can also, so not only can I delete slides and move slides around, I can also add content to the lesson based on my teaching practice. So to add content, you would go over here where it says add content and activities, and it shows you this tab right here. There are two different tabs of things you can add. So first, I'm going to talk to you about the content that you can add. You can add videos. So as teachers, we may have videos that we want to find, or we know we want to add a little bit more. So I can go to the Nearpod video library and look up different videos. I can go to YouTube and search for some different videos that I want to add. So maybe I want to add more about Washington, D.C. And there are some videos that I could add to this. I can add my videos. So maybe there's some other videos that I found on Nearpod, or I can upload a video. Maybe I have a video already in my computer or in my source somewhere that I could add and put it as part of my Nearpod lesson. So that's one way that we can do that. So let's go back to my lesson. Back here, go to click and edit. So what else can we add? We can add a slide. So maybe there's a slide that I want to add. So I can create a PowerPoint slide that I want to add to this. Click cancel. I can add web content. So maybe there's a website that I want my students to see or to look and get more information about. I can add Nearpod 3D. So this is really cool, especially those of you who are teaching more science or more different contents. You could have students and add sort of a 3D simulation that you can have students look and examine more in depth. You could have, now this one's really great, especially for something, if you're reading about a different place in the world, you can do what's called a VR field trip. So since this was talking about an inauguration, I'm going to look up Washington, D.C., because maybe my students are not familiar with Washington, D.C., or where this was taking place in Washington, D.C. So I would look up that content. And it's going up. There we go. I was about to say it was a little bit slow. And so let's see. Let me talk about, okay, the National Mall. So this is the big place where there's a lot of history within America. So I would add that. And so it would add my slide here. Maybe I would put it right here before the video. So again, we can move the content around. I can add videos from the BBC. I can also add what's called Sway. Sway is this very fancy PowerPoint presentation. So I can take a look. Let me see what we can say. Okay. Maybe I would add something about, let's say, just say Thomas Jefferson, just as an example, just to give some more history perspective. And again, I would maybe move this over here. And Finally, I can add some audio. So again, these are my own personal audio files that I could add. Or I can add a PDF files and a slideshow. So these are my own personal files. Okay, so that's content that I can add to this. I can also add activities to this. So we already saw that there was a poll within this example. We can also add other things that we want our students to do. We can add a time to climb, which is sort of a game activity that you can have students quiz each other, and it's a little bit of a competition that you want your students to participate in. We could add open-ended question. So this will be something that it's open-ended and that I want my students to answer. So what do you think of her speech? Students could add, I could add image. I could add a timer of how long I want my students to participate in this. So we can click save. We can do a quiz if I want to quiz my students. We can do matching pairs for vocabulary practice. We can have students draw. We can do a collaborate board. So collaborate board is what you saw a little bit earlier. Students would add content, and I'll show you how that works in just a moment. Fill in the blanks, a memory test, or for those of you who know about Flipgrid, you could integrate, as I mentioned, link your Flipgrid account to this presentation and maybe have students give, instead of writing their questions or writing a response to the question, students could record themselves answering this question. Okay, so let's say, okay, I've looked through it, I've added some more details. I think this looks really great. Let me move this around a little bit. Okay, so I think I'm finished with changing my lesson. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here where it says preview. Now, this preview is different from the previous preview that we looked at before. Because remember, before we were looking at, excuse me, I'm going to go back a little bit. Previously, we were looking at the teacher's preview. What does the teacher see when they're choosing this lesson? Here, we're going to see from a student's perspective. This is what they will see once they're given the code to access or participate in this activity. So here it is. This is what the students would see. They would still see the slide that we looked at before. And then here we are. Okay, so remember, this was the VR that I showed you before. So let's enter the VR. So now the students could take a look and see this is what Washington, D.C., the mall looks like. This is where people would stand to see what it looks like from the president's perspective. Okay, here's Washington Monument and so on. Okay, all right, so we've fixed that. Here is the sway that I showed you. So sway, again, is this very fancy PowerPoint presentation. So we can go down, learn a little bit more about Thomas Jefferson, his major accomplishments. Did you know a few things? Some other activities that they could do with that. So that's the sway activity that we added. Again, here's the video that we would have students watch and look at. And then here, this is the discussion board activity that we had students looked at. So here's the question. Was the poem you heard a window, a mirror, or both? So a student could see down towards the bottom, they're going to type or write their answers to this question. So I could say the poem was a mirror to my life. It could add down here. There's an image down here. They can look for an image. So I'm going to look for an image for a mirror. Here's some images I find. I'm going to choose this as an example. Okay, the poem was a mirror to my life. Maybe they would write a little bit more. Once they finish, they click post. And then here, imagine seeing your students adding more of their responses to each other. So it's similar to another tool called Padlet as a way for them to add different content. Here's an open-ended question that a student would like. What do you think of her speech? I thought her speech was great, as an example. And so I would add that as a content. Here's the poll that the student would have to answer. It made me think about race as an example. And then complete the sentences to indicate what you felt. I learned, so I would type, I learned about Washington, D.C. And they would type and add more things, and then they're done. Okay? So this is what, from a student's perspective, this is what they would see, and these are the activities they would participate in. And I think this is great because for myself, when I would use other tools in the past, I always wanted to see, what do the students see when I'm doing this activity? So what's great about Nearpod, it gives you the two different previews. One from a teacher's perspective, thinking, okay, is this lesson great? Do I want to use this lesson with my activities? And also from a student's perspective, what do they see when we do this activity? What are they going to do? And that would help in terms of giving directions, in terms of anticipating, oh, I better prepare this in such a way, or this may be an issue and we need to work on this a little bit more. So that gives you some ideas of how to set up activities, how to edit activities, how to make changes to the activities in terms of Nearpod. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to show you how you would set up an activity. How would you make students participate in this activity? We're going to see how it works. We still have a little bit of time. We're going to try one of the activities that I have, so that way you, from a student's perspective, can try it out and see how it would run in your either a face-to-face learning environment or a hybrid learning environment, or through a continued online remote environment. So once you finish setting things up, there's a space down here where I'm going to save changes really quickly down here because this is the activity we're going to do. What you usually see when you're ready to do an activity, if I hover over it, you usually will see something like this above the activity. Live participation and Zoom. So as I mentioned earlier, this is a new feature, and I believe this is a paid feature of Nearpod. You would have to pay to use it. But if you choose to use it, it looks like you're able to do or somehow link the Nearpod with the Zoom. But what I'm going to show you shows you the ways you can do it even if you don't have this option for your account. You're going to do a live participation, which is what we're going to try to do next. Or you can do what's called student paced. So that means you assign this as homework for students. Maybe you're not meeting with your students every day, but you want your students to do some content as they are doing this on their own. This is a really great option for them to do it. So let's see, for those of you who are feeling a little bit brave and want to see and experience what this is like as a student, let's try the live participation. If you don't want to participate in this, that's perfectly fine. That's actually great, because what you're going to see on this screen that I'm sharing would be what it would look like for you as a teacher. So let me click on this. So whenever you choose to do a live participation, you usually see this link right here. So the students, so they're different, students will join with this code right here. And it says join.nearpod.com. So I'm going to leave this up for just a moment. I'm going to switch screens so that those of you who are going to participate, I will show you how to fill this out to participate. So please note this code for just a moment. I will come back to this screen. Okay, and I'm going to quickly stop. So I'm just going to show those of you who are going to participate what it's going to look like from your perspective. Okay, so those of you who are going to participate or want to try this out, you're going to go to the website join.nearpod.com. You're going to type in this code and click join. It's going to ask you for you to write your name, or if there's a nickname that you want to use, it's okay. Don't worry about this. And then when you're ready, you would click join lesson, and it should take you to this screen right here. Okay. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen right here. I'm going to go back to the screen that I was previously in to just join the code. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and just start showing what this activity would look like, and we'll see how it goes. We probably won't do the whole or the entire activity. Okay, so we have 6 people. That's great. That's actually a perfect size. So again, do not worry if you're not going to be able to participate. Just you can watch and see what this looks like. So this is what it looks like through the screen right here. Okay, so that way you see towards the bottom, I see the number of people that are participating in this activity. And we have this feature right here where it says hide or show student names. Okay, so as you'll see in a moment, it's going to be clear why this is a really important feature, because you can show the student names as they're completing the activities. So again, when I'm in the class, this is what the students would see or what I would project on the screen itself. But usually I prefer to hide the student names because especially when we go over the activities, there's some students who may feel shy or they don't want to see their names, or especially if they feel, oh, my answer is wrong. They don't want that. They don't want others to know. But you will still know who completed the activity, as I'll show you in a little bit when we go through the reports section. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead. I know we just have 14. That's actually a perfect size. So what we're going to do very quickly is we're going to do a really quick writing grammar exercise called using parallel structure. So as you see that there are some arrows on the right-hand side, I'm going to be the one clicking through, and I'm the one controlling the activity as the teacher. So as I'm going through and clicking through the activity, this is what it's projected on the screen or through Zoom. The students who are watching this through their device, they see this on their screen as well. Okay, so we're going to see what we know about parallel structure. So what we're going to do is we're going to learn about parallel structure. And when we use parallel structure, we are following a grammatical pattern within a sentence. So on the next few slides, we're going to try to figure out the patterns. And if you're not sure, just try your best. Okay, so we're ready? All right, here we go. Whoops, so I'm going to hide everyone's names. So you saw everyone's names. I'm going to hide it because I want to show and now people see what's going on. So on everyone's devices, they are going to see, so for those of you who are just watching this, this is what they're seeing on their screen. They are going to take a look at the verbs, and what they need to do is they need to look these words: biking, hiking, swimming, running, climbing, and they're going to circle the words that follow the same grammatical pattern as that list. So biking, hiking, and so on. Which words have a similar pattern? And as you can see, I'm projecting it on the screen. We can see how people are doing. And so for those of you participating in this activity, when you're done, you can click, there's a submit button. So as we can see, some of you are submitting, and so we're waiting. We have some of you doing submitting already or submitted. Some of you are doing it in progress. So again, those of you who are finished, there should be a button on the bottom that says submit. It's a blue button on the bottom right. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I know some of you are still working. So again, just for the sake of time. So what we're going to have you do is usually what I do once everyone submits their work, I start looking through it and saying, okay, let's take a look here. So here's one student. So again, remember the pattern is biking, hiking, swimming, running, climbing. Let's take a look at this student right here. Canoeing, rafting, camping, sailing. Correct. Excellent. Okay. So you can use this as, especially when you're showing students work. Okay, you can go through and say, oh, yes, all of you got this answer correct. Or if someone didn't get it correct, we can go through and talk through the answers together. Okay. All right. So that's one example. Let's see, let's down here. Okay. Let's do this one. So again, those of you who are participating, I move to the next slide. Again, just want to be conscious of time. So here we have new set of words. So beautiful, stunning, gorgeous, amazing, special. Circle the words that follow the same grammatical pattern as in this list. And again, those of you who are just watching, this is the list of words that they are seeing here. This one's a little bit harder. You can just give everyone a moment. Okay. All right. So again, I know some of you are still working on it, but let's take a look at this person's work right here. So we have the work splendid, graceful, appealing, pretty. Okay. Excellent. Very good. All right. And so on and so forth. And again, we use this to kind of take notes, go through any answers that were not clear, and so on. Okay. Excellent. Okay. So I know, again, I apologize. Some of you I know are still working on it. Again, we're just going to move on to show you some other examples through this lesson. So again, today's lesson, we're going to learn about parallel structure. Here's what parallel structure is. Again, if I had time, I would slow down, talk to you about it. So again, parallel structure is basically repetition of a grammatical form. This afternoon, I will buy a book, walk my dog, swim in the pond. Last year, I ran a marathon, got a new job, won an award. Anaya is a great boss because she's intelligent, confident, helpful. Again, we want to have that very nice, smooth, parallel structure. Okay, let's try this activity right here. Okay, so sentence below is written in parallel structure. Please circle the 3 verbs that are all in the same verb tense. So again, those of you who are just watching, this is what everyone's seeing. Okay. Okay. All right. So again, apologize. I have to speed through this just to make sure we have time for questions. And I want to show you just 2 more different activities. So let's take a look at this person's right here. This person submitted monkeys climbing, picking, and screaming. Excellent. Very good. Very good answers. All right. Let's try a different type of activity. So this lesson goes through all the different activities with that. Let's see. Let's try, I don't know. Okay. All right. So let's try this. So this one is what everyone's going to do is we're going to read the sentence here. And for this, I'm going to keep this up for everyone. You're going to rewrite the sentence. So there's one error with this sentence that doesn't work compared to the others. So can you rewrite this sentence using correct parallel structure? So again, I'm going to leave this up for everyone to see. And I'll give everyone a moment. So those of you who are participating, you should have a space for you to type your answer. And I'm just going to leave it up here for just a moment so that everyone can see what you have to do. Okay, so I'm going to, in just a moment, close this. Now, again, this is from a teacher's perspective, what we see down here. I can keep track and see how my students are doing. Now, for this feature, what's different from the others is that this keeps track of how many people participated. So right now, 50% of people who signed in have participated. Again, I'm keeping this anonymous because, again, some students don't want to know if they got this incorrectly or not. Again, for the sake of time, I'm going to, again, stop this activity so we can finish things up. So again, here was the sentence. The architect worked carefully, thoughtfully, and with quickness. And we have some, so it should be, so we agree that it's this one right here. This is the one that's not in parallel structure. So we should have the architect work carefully, thoughtfully, and quickly. Yes, 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 yes. Excellent, 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 and so on. Okay, perfect. Those of you who got it, submitted it, excellent. Okay, so in a moment, I'm going to show you what's going to happen to this information here. But let's just finish things up. Again, I apologize. We have to keep going. Let's do this. Okay, let's end with this. How do you feel about using parallel structure? So this is that poll feature. So we have A, I'm confused. B, I need more practice. C, I'm a pro. So let's see how people are. And again, so this is the poll feature that we saw earlier. And here, what's great about it is that as a teacher, I can see and keep track. How are people feeling after this very, very, very quick lesson? The fastest lesson on parallel structure that we've ever had to do. Some majority of you, okay, I'm really happy to see that majority of you, 45 of you say, I'm a pro. Oh, that's great. 55% of you said this. 10% of you say, okay, I need more practice. Some of you are not answering because I have to move on. But you can see on the left-hand side here, this gives me a pulse. This lets me know how it feels from a teacher's perspective. Okay, so it was thank you. I know it was a very, very quick lesson, but it gives those of you a chance to see that this is what it looks like from a teacher's perspective. So the last thing I want to show with you before we wrap things up and I can start answering some questions you may have. So you saw that there was a lot of information and there was some data that was being collected, and that I chose as the instructor not to show everyone's names during the activity or lesson itself, because I'm just trying to focus on going through the lesson and teaching the content. But the data does go somewhere. So over here on the left-hand side, we have a place that's called reports. And when I click on that, it takes me to this information over here. And I can click on the activity that we just did, the session that we just completed. And it gives me a report of some kind. It tells me different things I want to do. I'm not going to scroll down to the bottom because it gives information about the students. But if you scroll to the bottom where it says student engagement details, it shows who participated and what each answer that student did. How did the student participate in this activity? But just for the sake of privacy for today's presentation, I won't do that so that way people feel secure. But at least up here, I can see how many people participated. Most of you participated. I can see all of you. We didn't do the quiz today, so we didn't skip that. We did the poll. How do I feel about using parallel structure? And here it gives information about, again, the breakdown of students. The open-ended, it gives some information if I want a little bit more details about the students. The drawing, the same thing here. It gives information about what each student did. So it gives you a sense as an instructor, you have data. You still have proof that, okay, this student, when we did this activity, he or she was really engaged. Or, oh, when we did this activity, that student didn't do as well. Okay, so I need to either revise the lesson or I need to give that student more homework or more support in order to help him or her complete this lesson itself. So so that's a little bit about Nearpod. I'm going to summarize my final points, and then I'm going to answer some questions. So let me stop sharing, and I'm going to, go down here. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so here are some things to consider as we experience, and I showed you how to use Nearpod. Yes, they're free features. There could be some limitations, especially, as I mentioned, EdTech companies know this is the prime time to get instructors and to get, as we say, money. So there could eventually be more limitations. But as you can see, you can still do a lot compared to some other tools that are out there that have free features and then paid features. You can still do a lot of things. Just be aware that there could be some features that could maybe in the future become limited. But in other words, a lot of things could be available for use. The time needed, especially as you saw, I sped through that activity. Normally, this would be an activity that would take an entire lesson. So think about how much time you need to do this activity, especially the first time that you're doing this. I would choose to keep the activity very simple, maybe do one thing, especially for the first time in terms of like, okay, how do I go? How do I access this information? And so on. Think about your role. So in terms of doing this, so when you're doing Nearpod, you're acting more like a facilitator. There are some moments where you have to be up front and you're talking about it, but other times you are, as you probably saw me, I was waiting and watching. So you're becoming more of a facilitator in terms of doing this. Also think about the ways you're doing assessment. You want your students to participate, but you also want to make sure that your students learned something. So you have to think about how you would assess the students as they're completing this activity. And of course, always think about the technological capabilities of yourself and your students and the institute that you're teaching in. So again, Nearpod, we mostly used computers. Some of you may have used your phones. Nearpod does have a free app. So for our students who may not, or are accessing your class, not through a computer, but through their smartphones, they can do that. Maybe in class, pairing people up, especially if not everyone has access or has a smartphone. Just think about that as you're setting things up, because there are a variety of ways that you can set things up with your students. Some final thoughts. Don't be afraid to experiment. This is what's great about Nearpod. It allows you to really re-examine how you think and how you're using technology. And don't be afraid to experiment and try something new. And always evaluate and think about your use of Nearpod. Think about how is this working for you? Because tools that are out there, some tools do what you want them to do. Other tools are maybe not as effective as you want them to be. So always think and always evaluate your use of Nearpod. And so that's it. I'm going to give you my email. This is my personal email, so you can use to contact me. I'd be more than happy to hear about your successes using Nearpod or other technology tools that are out there. If you have any questions, or you need some assistance, if you're going to try to use Nearpod in terms of setting things up, please feel free to email me. I'd be more than happy to meet with you virtually or email you. You can always contact me from there. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to stop sharing my PowerPoint so I can see you or hear you if you have any questions for me.
Hi.
Hi.
It was very enlightening. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm so sorry. We are in our houses.
It's okay. No worries. No worries. That's the world these days.
Happens,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. So there are some questions. So I think there are two questions. The first one is, I'm going to show you. The question is, yeah, great. Is it possible for students to log in from different devices?
Yes. So they can definitely do it on their phones, on their computers. If they have tablets, they can log in from any device. So as long as they get the code and you just have to direct them to the code, they can access it that way. What I didn't really show you, or what you didn't really see below, is that you can also share the code, because Nearpod is integrating with other ed tech tools that are out there. So if you're using things like Remind or Google Classroom, you could send the code that way. So that way students just have to log in wherever they are and they can access it that way. But yes, you can definitely, any device, they should be able to log in and access that way.
Which is perfect, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
I have another question from the audience. Do you think is like Google Slides? I guess they are like trying to compare. I know that there is an integration, so
yeah, so there is an integration with Google Slides, and unfortunately that is one of the paid, when I was researching this again, it is one of the paid features, which I don't know why they're doing this. So it's a bit frustrating. So there is a Google Slide integration that you could, if you have Google Slides and you want to, like, okay, I have the content, I have the materials, and I just want to put it in with this Nearpod. For whatever reason, there's a paid feature that they could integrate and put it or link Nearpod and Google Slides together. Unfortunately, that's paid, but there are some things that are like, I would say, PowerPoint or other slide features that are out there. I didn't have time to show you some of the things that I've used. I just uploaded previous PowerPoints that I've used to create Nearpod, but there are some features that are like Google Slides and PowerPoint, Sway and other things that are out there. But so that's what's great about it. So there's this integration with other tools, but yeah, for some reason I do not know why. It's strange.
I don't get it either, but well,
that's the only tool integration that they're asking people to pay for, which I don't understand.
I don't understand either.
All the other features, like if you're using Flipgrid or other tools that are out there, you can use it for free.
Yeah, I know.
Free account and you can integrate.
How strange. And the last one that we have is thank you. Can we pause the lesson and go back to the same slide afterwards?
Yes. So there is a feature that when you click on quitting, so I didn't do that feature, but when you end the lesson, it's going to ask you, do you want to pause the lesson? And you can say yes. And then afterwards, when you go back to the library, and you can say, oh, do you want to resume? It's going to ask you some questions like, oh, we were just here. Do you want to resume where you are or where you were when you stopped? And you can say, yes, I want to do that. So yes, you can go back to the same slide. There's some little steps that you have to do in order to make sure that you do that correctly.
Perfect. Well, there are so many comments, so thanking you. So thank you so much for sharing your representation. So thank you so much. It was a very enlightening presentation. I really liked it so much. And on behalf of Mex de Sol, I would like to present you with this certificate of participation of appreciation as well. Thank you for your time. It was very great. And well, thank you. And we hope we can see you soon also.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And again, best of luck to all of you. I know this past year has been very difficult for many different reasons.
Sure.
And so I just admire all teachers for what we've been able to do this past year. So just keep up what you're doing. And again, please reach out to me if you have any other questions or want to talk more about other tools that are out there. I always love sharing and learning more from you as well about what you're doing in your classes.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. Have a nice weekend. And
oh, thank you.
I hope we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you great, Juan. Hello,
hey,
how are you?
I'm pretty good, and you?
Excellent, yes.
Okay, well, it's a great pleasure to present to you Liz Fishwick. Excellent tutor, take my word for it. Okay.
Thank you.
Liz is a head of teaching, training, and development at the Anglo Institute, of Education, Mexico. She's a Celta and Delta tutor, and she's responsible for designing and delivering tailor-made teacher development courses for the Anglo based on needs and modern goods practice in ELT. She has been in ELT since 1988, and she has taught, managed, and trained a wide variety of content. Okay, she will be presenting a talk called "Keep It in Simple and Participle: Teaching on the Old and New Normal." Welcome, Liz. The microphone is yours.
Welcome. All right, so welcome. Thank you for coming on this Saturday morning. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what our session is going to be about. And I'm going to try and make it as interactive as possible for you as well. So let me share the screen. Right. Hold on. Yes, sorry. There we go. Can you all see? Can you all see my PowerPoint? So we're going to talk about keeping it simple and principled with teaching, looking at teaching in how we used to teach before in classrooms, but transferring these ideas to the new normal that we're living in now. Okay then, so as one just introduced, my name's Liz Fishwick, and I'm Head of Teacher Training and Development at the Anglo. And throughout the past year, I've been very involved in training teachers and ensuring that we are staying to being like principal teachers, but adapting to the ways we have to work now. Okay then, so my session has these objectives. We're going to look at exploiting technology, but purposefully. We're going to be looking at utilizing stay at home effectively. There is a lot of benefits to this. We're going to be looking at how to take the course book off the page, and we'll have time for questions and answers afterwards. Okay then, so let's cast our minds back to a year ago. Remember, we were told our schools are closed. We have to teach at home. Nobody really knew for how long. We're still here, and also to keep our Susana distancia at all times. So let's think about this point here. I mean, one does not simply move a course online. What were we supposed to do? So of course, like all of us, I know we were proactive. We took the Cambridge course, Teaching English Online, and we also took plenty of other steps to continue to upgrade our teaching skills in order to accommodate this new normal. Also as well, there seems to be a lot of emergence of using apps. Okay then, so looking at using apps, I know there was lots of webinars, tutorials, all based on how to put apps into your teaching. However, and this is a little bit of a controversial claim, I wondered if this was getting a bit too much and somehow being a bit overwhelming that we have to use all these apps in our teaching. That was a message I felt was out there. And I've sometimes wondered if teachers began to feel guilty about not using lots of apps, not integrating it. And also as well, my feeling is apps are wonderful. However, we've got to make sure that good practice and ELT is at the forefront of absolutely everything we do. Okay then, so let's move on. And this is actually an important point. I'm not a Luddite, despite my age. So Ludditism was a movement in the 19th century, which was actually against technology and the Industrial Revolution. I'm certainly not advocating going back to the chalkboards. And yes, I do remember the cassette players and putting your pencil in when the cassette player broke. But what we're actually talking about now, and in my talk, is we're thinking about how to strike a balance for purposeful integration of apps, but making sure learners are at the forefront through meaningful communicative activities, which will help them improve, but also keeping apps light and keeping them purposeful. Okay then, so let's move on to the first part of the talk, where we're going to be looking at using technology purposefully. Okay then. 1 second, there we go. So I'm going to be looking at using videos. Now, you might be thinking this is hardly revolutionary. We've been using YouTube clips in classes for years. Our learners have, Instagram and TikTok. I'm not sure what that is, but so they can record themselves. But this idea came to me is over my years in teacher training. I've seen plenty of YouTube videos in lessons, but it's been just there and it wasn't doing anything. Otherwise, then it engages the learners. And I was thinking, this really needs to be exploited. And this short clip, you could get so much out of that clip. to help learners develop not only sub-skills, but also develop systems as well. Okay then, and also as well, using a clip in many different ways can be really purposeful for learners, but also it will save you lots of time. So I'm going to share a couple of ideas with you, and also you might get to know a little bit more about your presenter, Liz, simply because I can't see you. So things like that. All right. So I think, as you know, 8th of March is International Women's Day. We even have a Women's Month now, though I think it should be Women's Day every day and every month. And it's a subject which I feel really strongly about. So I'm going to ask you to put some comments in the chat, okay? What does Women's Day mean to you? And which women do you know represent Women's Day? Okay then, so please feel free to put some comments in chat. If you can access it, of course, so. Oh, all of them represent Women's Day. That's wonderful. Any other comments? Mother Teresa. Oh, good. And Helen Keller. As well. Okay then. So now I'm going to play the first few seconds of this video. Okay then. Write the name of any women that you recognize in this video. Okay then. And, you know, why do they represent the Women's Day? Okay then, why did they chose these women for this video? Okay, so next slide. Okay, so please put down your comments about which women did you see and why are they important for us, for men and women on Women's Day. Okay then, so please put a few comments now in the chat box. Yes, great, I like that, empowerment and recognition, that's wonderful. Yep, great, so justice, dignity and hope. Okay, and also, yeah, Malala, she's making our voices heard. That's fantastic. Okay, so next question is, what do we recognize on International Women's Day? Okay then, so please watch the clip and find out what do we recognize on International Women's Day. Okay then. Okay then, so please type about what do we recognize on International Women's Day. Okay then, so please type a couple of comments now in the chat box. Oh, is there no audio? Oh, you can't hear it. Ah. Okay, what I'll do, instead of like relying on the audio, but I'll just comment quickly. Yeah, something went wrong with the sound. I'm really sorry about that. I can also talk through some of the activities, if that's okay with you. Sorry, I didn't anticipate that problem. Okay then. So the learners listen, and then they find out, you know, why Women's Day is important for you. Now, the last question was, what changes do we need? Okay, and I froze the frame. Okay, then, about what changes, why do we need these changes? Okay, then, so please imagine your learners type in the chat box about what changes, yeah, do we need? Okay, then, so we got gender equality, social, economic, and political achievements. Okay, anything else? Education. All right. Now I'm only going to play again a little part of the clip. Same opportunities for everybody. Okay, then. And I want you to think about this question about what the changes. Okay, what changes did women ask for in the past? All right. Okay, now, as you can see, I stopped. You saw the picture of the women protesting about votes. Okay, then, when we see the picture, when we see a picture, does that help you understand the text better? Okay, so also look at the pictures, but also listen at the same time. Okay, then. So that next part of the video, they were talking about women in the past, you know, the changes we needed, and it answered the question. Okay, then. So now, of course, afterwards, we play the rest of the clip. I think about another task, like maybe comprehension questions, listening for specific information about why are these dates and numbers important. So that clip is fully exploited for helping learners with listening sub-skills. So this is my question for you, just like move forward. Okay, got two questions. I want you to type them in the chat box. Okay, then. And how can we exploit this clip for listening sub-skills? And what systems can we teach using this clip? Okay, then. So please put your comments, please write your comments now. Okay, then. So please write your comments. How can we exploit this clip for listening sub-skills, and what systems can we use from this clip? So what grammar or lexes can we use that that. So we've got, yeah, it could be a conversation prompter. We've got listening for gist. Excellent. Okay. Yeah, great. We've got gist, detail specific. There's a lot in there to help learners with that. Specific details. Also, what about things like, yeah, good sentence with transcription of some of the statements is a nice idea. Also, what about some language? Oh, yeah, the past is a good one too. Okay, great. So here's some of my ideas, but your ideas are really, really good. So we could think about, as I was doing this freeze frame, where I was stopping the video at certain points to get learners to predict, you know, so what changes, stop, think about the changes. This is a very learner-generated way of creating a listening task because we're using their predictions. Definitely plenty of detailed information. And also as well, when we're using a video in the class, remember the visuals are really, really essential for effective listening. And it's really important to train learners how to use it. One language point I thought is we were not allowed to, we weren't able to talk about restrictions in the past. All right, next question, whoops, is think about after they finished doing all that listening and language work, think about now a speaking or writing task they could use after this clip. Okay then? So please type your comments in the chat. Yes, so we've got some speaking. We can think about what kind of speaking though. Yes, a debate. That's a really lovely idea. I really like that. I know some of you were saying that it should be Humanity Day, but that's actually a really interesting topic. That's a very interesting topic we could get learners to talk about. Any other ideas? Okay, so here's some ideas I thought of. So basically, we could think about creating a Google document or a Padlet. You know, it's very collaborative to talk about, you know, a document for what we want for better women's rights. Things like about a protest placard using a Padlet or a Google slide so they could share and collaborate. Another idea is, again, this could be actually an interesting way of doing homework. Learners could use their favorite social network. They could do an Instagram reel, TikTok. Again, I'm not familiar with TikTok, but I know you can record things. They could make a short clip. They could post it. This gives them an audience. So they're communicating to the world, or at least within their group, about what International Women's Day means to me, the greatest achievements they find for women, or even interview an inspirational woman, which, interestingly enough, this could actually be in their own language. If, for example, they want to interview their grandma who doesn't speak English, and this could actually work as a way of, this could actually work in a way of translating, which is a really useful skill, isn't it? So now let's move on to some other thing. It's also another interesting fact about me. An interesting question, because I am actually vegan. What do vegans eat? Okay, please type your answers in the chat. Okay, then just a couple of comments. What do you think we actually eat? Oh yes, tofu. Yeah, plenty of tofu. Yeah, very flexible ingredient. Well, yeah, of course, vegetables. I do know some vegans who don't like vegetables though. Yep. And veggie food. Meat substitutes. Excellent. Okay then. So what we have here is a clip. And don't worry about this, because this clip is actually, she's not speaking or explaining the recipe, and she's going to be making vegan chili relleno. Okay then, quickly put some comments in chat box. What do you think is in this vegan chili relleno? Okay, so quickly type in, do you think you might want to try this? Okay. Do vegans drink beer? By the way, that's an interesting comment. I love beer. Okay then. So soy and cheese. Yeah, cheese, carrots, and peas. That sounds really good, actually. Tofu. And some substituted cheese. Brilliant. So this is what I do if you were real life language learners. I'd give you a worksheet, fill in the verbs describing different ways of cooking. Okay then, and then you watch the video now. Okay, so while filling in the worksheet, while you watch the recipe, I'll just play this. Remember, there's no explanations, and I hope you're not feeling too hungry after watching this. Oh, okay. So you do feel hungry. It looks good. Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, and it looks tasty. Yeah, I'm starving looking at this right now. So again, giving your learners that worksheet to get them to react and saying that, it looks good. Do you want to try it? And did it surprise you? It's actually a really interesting communicative task to get your learners to even react to it as well. Okay, then. I think I know what I might make for lunch tomorrow. So, okay then. So, if we're teaching a systems lesson, I want you to now type in the chat box, what systems can this clip be used to make? Now, Dora is the name of the chef. If she was explaining the recipe, what sub-skills do you think we could teach? Okay, so can you please type your comments in chat box now? In the chat, sorry, in comments. So think about, again, systems, but also think about sub-skills, listening sub-skills too. Yeah, good. Instructions is the key one, isn't it? Yep. Oh, yeah, ordinal numbers. That's an interesting one, yeah. Markers, Yep. Okay, so let's see some of the ideas which I thought of. Okay, then. And what we've got here is, again, they can scan for specific information, measures and verbs. We've got reacting to the recipe, lexical sets for cooking verbs, imperatives, and sequencing words. So we'll mention markers. I think that's actually quite a useful way to exploit a recipe video. So next question is, what would be a suitable follow-up task for either speaking or writing? Can you please put your comments now in the comments, the little comments page? Yeah, good. Connectives, yep. Okay, so think about a speaking or a writing task. And this can be done inside a class, or it could be a project we could do outside of class. Yeah, brilliant. Writing a recipe. That's came straight to my mind, Juan Jose. So yeah, excellent. Yeah, there's so much scope in there, isn't there? Yep. And then presenting it. Homework. Yep. Excellent. Okay, so some ideas I have. We said definitely the recipe, share it on a Padlet, share it with the group, and the group can comment on it like you would do like on like on an online forum. Also research a recipe from Dora's table. If I'm not full of vegan propaganda, by the way, but our recipe is really, really good. And exactly as you said, Hilda, record yourself making it and share it with the group the next day. I think that's a fantastic idea. And again, it's bringing the learners' lives into the class. So here's a couple of ideas about fully exploiting video clips. It saves you time and you get lots of genuine communication from your learners as well. So let's move on to utilizing stay at home. So I've got a nice picture I found just outside my flat of all, yeah, this is how our lives are now. However, there is benefits to this. And basically, teaching learners at home gives us a whole treasure chest of communicative activities with minimal resources, just using things they can find at home. And this is, I was thinking about this, is almost like an elevated show and tell for online classrooms, which can appeal for both children, secondary, and adults. Okay, so let's look at some ideas I have for this. Okay, then. So now I've got some ideas because right now our wardrobes are here. You know, clothes is a very popular topic from A0 up until the higher levels, addressing more complexity as we go up. Some activity I thought about was like my favorite outfit, what I normally wear, and fashion shows if you're teaching YL. But I wonder if some adults would love this. So I'm going to demonstrate a little task for you called my favorite outfit. Okay then. My favorite outfits. So you tell the learners to pick 3 outfits, one that they wear for work or school, one they'd normally wear for a social event. I know we're not doing them right now, but think about the past, and one they wear for like a hobby. Okay then. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this. So this is one of my favorite work shirts. I really like wearing shirts for work, even home working, because it makes you feel professional. And this shirt's particularly cute. It's got pugs on it and things like that. And of course, I'd ask a learner about, what's your favorite thing to wear for work? And here's my favorite dress I wear for a social gathering. I love this dress because it's got Russian dolls on it and it's really cool. And people always compliment me when I wear it. So now you show me your favorite dress. And for a hobby, I've got my running stuff. One of my half marathon shirts. It was the last half marathon I ran in Mexico City before Oh my God, it seems so long ago now. And my Wonder Woman running socks, because when I run, I'm not the best, but I feel like a rock star. Okay, then. So, but these things about clothes, using their own clothes for communicative activities, what systems do you think learners can practice using clothes? Okay, please type your comments now. Okay, so think about what systems, this is grammar or lexis or functions, learners will practice. Excellent, yeah, lexical set of clothes. Yes, brilliant. Yeah, we're all talking about clothing vocabulary. And again, it's very real because you can actually see it. But what about, let's think about some grammar, some structure as well. Yeah, we've got clothing vocabulary. But let's think about again, what structures do you think this would be useful practice for? Yeah, good. Yeah, preferences is a great one. Demonstrative adjectives. Yep, present continuous. Ah, yes. So yeah. So I'm wearing a white shirt. I normally wear this for work. Yeah, good. Describing clothes. Possessives. Order. Yeah. Okay. Gradable adjectives. That's quite a good one. Yeah. So I just had a few ideas here. This is by no means an exhaustive list. Whoops. And I thought about, we could think about, again, lexical set for clothes, superlatives, comparatives, adverbs of frequency. The list is kind of endless. Okay, then. So the next one is actually using the room that you're in. Again, this is really great for genuine communication. On a recent CELTA course I was a tutor on, I actually said to the candidate for her freer practice, why don't you get the learners to compare rooms and talk about something interesting in your room? And I really thought, so the learners were so engaged. We've all been stuck in our houses for such a long time. They had interesting things in their houses and they wanted to compare them in their flats or homes. So here's some ideas. We could talk about describing a room, comparing rooms, and I'm going to do a little demo for now about describing a room. Please apologize. I apologize in advance that my apartment is not the tightest right now. So we can think about things like, so in my flat, you can see we've got a red futon in the corner. We've got an Acapulco chair. Got nice big windows, so you can see the whole of the city. A flat screen TV, and I'm not sure you can see this, but we have a skeleton on the wall as well. Okay, then. And another idea is also you could do a role play, actually using the rooms learners are in to be like an estate agent selling a house or an apartment, or like that, renting a room and actually using that surroundings they have now. So think about this, is what systems can your learners practice using these activities, which are all about, the home and the rooms. Can you please type your comments now? Please, can you type your comments now? Okay, then. Got there is, there are. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, we've got vocabulary as well, because it's very concrete, the vocabulary. You can see it. Yeah, excellent. We got superlatives. Yeah, that's a really good one. Lexical items, order for adjectives too. Multiple adjective order. Functions related to selling products. Absolutely, yes. Yep. Okay. And someone said it's so funny. All right. So here are some ideas I thought of. We've got lexical sets for rooms and goods, have got for possession, comparison of superlatives, functional language. And please keep in mind that, again, this list is by no means exhaustive. There's plenty of things we can do just by using furniture. Okay. Next one is we're going to look at just items in the house. Okay, then. And here's some ideas about, talking about my favorite thing, an object which is important to me, or a treasure hunt. So I'm going to do a little treasure hunt right now. Okay, then. So my teacher's told me to find something I can use to cook. Are you cooking? So here we go. I've got the Motlaheti. It's really heavy, so I'll put that down right now. Find something which you can play with. There we go. So I brought this is my emotional support cat, and that's something I can play with. Find something to keep you safe from COVID-19. And here I've got a nice face mask. Okay, then. So that's where you can get your learners to do a treasure hunt, and maybe a little follow-up activity could be, so why did you choose this item in the treasure hunt? The advantage of this activity is it's getting learners off their chairs, moving around, and I think this is really important during these times. Okay, so as always, please type in the chat box what systems can learners practice. Think about these activities. Okay, so can I hear your comments now? Yeah, describing things is really useful. Yeah, any other ideas? Okay, so here's some ideas that I've got. Again, this is by no means exhaustive, and I think I've lost the slide. Whoops. Yes, we got it here. Lexical set. We got adjectives to describe things, and again, comparatives and superlatives. Narrative tenses if you're talking about the history of your favorite object in the house, and sequencing phrases too also could be really useful for this, so then and before, especially if you're telling a story. So this will be really useful. Yeah, someone's mentioned, discourse markers, Angel, absolutely. And done in a very natural way. Yeah. Oh, nice. A bit of modality we could even throw in there too. Okay, then. So final one about using the home and the surroundings is actually people. Now, I know, again, from training teachers, some people say, well, the families join in. Is that always a bad thing? Probably not. Depends on how you use it. one of my trainees teaches kindergarten, and she asked, is a good free practice actually getting the children to introduce their family? Of course it is. It's fantastic because their family are there, and if the family speak a bit of English, they can even join in. Now, I can't demonstrate any family activities right now because right now I'm in the flat all alone. The only person with me, well, it's not a person, it's my cat, and I'm afraid he doesn't talk. He just meows, and he's having a sleep right now. So here are some ways you could use to help with family, and I've got some ideas like question forms if they're interviewing a family member, descriptive adjectives, possessives, family lexis, and again, you think about the choice and the options are quite endless as well. Okay then? So yeah, here are just some activities where you can take advantage of home surroundings. So a great comment here about these activities are really personalized. It establishes rapport between teacher and learners, really gets learners feeling confident because they're talking about things they know. And I think that's really useful to develop their language skills. Okay then, final point is this. So I all hear you say, but we have to use the book. Absolutely. Okay then. So what we're going to be looking at now is a few ideas about taking the book off the page. Okay then. And also taking the book off the page in a really simple and effective way. Okay then. I now realize we're having a couple of audio problems. So what I'll do instead, I will talk over the clip. I hope that's okay for you all. So, what you're going to be watching now is you're going to be watching a clip, a couple of clips made by of my colleague Andres, teaching a class of B2. He's teaching a reading lesson, and he's following these stages here. The pre-stage, where you give the learners a lead-in, you engage them. While activities to develop reading sub-skills like gist, detail, deducing meaning, and a post follow-up task related to the text. Okay then, and this is what you need to do, is you're going to watch Andres again. Let me know if you can hear it or not, and then I'll just like commentate. I'll be the commentator for you. I want you to think about what tools does Andres and his learners use? How does this take the book off the page? And how does he keep it simple and also principled? So he's really developing learners' reading sub-skills. Okay then? So I will now play.
But as you could see, we had some spaces here, 1, 2, 3, and 4.
All right.
That means we're missing some sentences.
So this is Andres setting up the gist task.
The sentences are here.
So just see what he's doing now.
The topic sentences. Now I'm going to ask you, does the topic sentence mention the main idea of the paragraph, or is it a supporting detail? A topic sentence, does it mention the main idea of the paragraph, or is it just a supporting detail?
The main idea, I think.
Do you agree, all of you?
Okay, brilliant.
Yes,
Good.
I guess the main idea.
Yeah. Yes,
Yes.
We're looking for the main idea here. And as you can probably guess, we're going to try to put them into the paragraphs in the correct order. Before we do that, let's look at some keywords here. So if you look at the first sentence, there's another stereotype that I'd like to challenge. I'm going to show you some keywords. Can you tell me what keywords you find here? For example,
Stereotype?
Yes. What else?
Challenge.
Yes. And?
Like?
Not really.
No, another.
Issue.
Another, yes.
Okay, so let's look at this. Another means I have already talked about one. This is one more. A stereotype, something that people commonly believe, but I'm going to challenge it. I'm going to say, no, you're wrong about it. Okay. Doing the same thing, can you underline the keywords in the other sentences? Now let's go in order. Tania, can you do it for B? Antonia, can you do it for C with Nayeli? And for D, Elia Gonzalez and Brenda. Fer, can you help in B, please? All right, so Tania and Fer, B. Antonio and Nayeli, C. Elia Gonzalez and Brenda, D. Underline keywords. Go ahead, use the annotate function.
Sorry, what function should I use?
Annotate, it's at the top of your screen. There are extra functions. And then the function of draw a straight line.
Oh, thank you.
No problem.
I'm fine.
All right, okay. So let's go back to the questions and please comment on about the tools Andres and his learners use. How does this take the book off the page so it lifts the book? And how does he keep it simple yet principled with a focus on helping learners develop their reading sub skills? Okay, then. So can you please put a couple of comments in the comments box now, please? Okay, then. So Vera, to put your comments now. Okay, so I think as you can see, what Andres is doing, he's using the underline function on Zoom to underline keywords of the questions. Again, the book is actually on the PowerPoint, so learners can interact with it, and also we can demonstrate a technique to help learners read better. So this is actually, again, he's keeping it really focused on what learners are supposed to be doing, is developing reading, but with a couple of simple tools. It's actually interactive and it's really focused. And again, it's off the page as well. Okay, then let's just look at the next part of the class, Andres. I'm going to skip a little bit for time permitting.
But as you
Whoops.
No.
I'm going to skip the detailed task, but I'm going to get you to look at the post task. And I want you to think about the same things. What tools does he use? How does it take it off the page? And how does he keep it simple yet principled? Okay, then. So I'll just start sharing. No.
The male players, perhaps, so that's why the experience is probably not that nice, at least in this participant's opinion. It's fine. Another thing we do is probably share our thoughts online. And that's the last activity we're going to do with this text. That's why I prepared this Padlet for you. Imagine that it's a forum, and you can write your opinions about it. You have a lot of ideas now. So what I would like you to do is to participate on this Padlet. The link is at the bottom of the Word document. I also send it to you there. It should send you here. And in here, you can respond to comments just by clicking on the plus. You can start here. These were tests. I'm going to delete them. Sorry, yes, thank you very much for your help.
Yeah.
I was just testing that, it actually worked. So here I can write something like, games are terrible, my very strong opinion. And then here I just go like, yeah, they are just destroying people and they really make you fat. I don't know, Patty can talk about it with her daughters. And I was like, for example, my daughter, she plays in my computer, da, 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 da. Then I respond here to Patty, says like, no, Patty, you're wrong, etc., etc. Now, the idea here is everybody please post one at the top of the screen in here and at least respond to one person's comment. So the idea is that in one little thread, you have the top comment by one of you, and then a response by every single one of you as well, right? So you can have some sort of conversation. I'm going to keep this screen here so I can see how you're updating this activity. So summarizing, we're going to post our views on video games. I want everybody to post a view and then to respond to everybody's views. Checking instructions, are you only going to post your view and not respond? Oh, no, we're going to respond to once. All right, here I'm going to update the page. I'm sure you're a mom, okay. All right, go ahead. You can mute your microphones. We're still staying on Zoom.
Okay, so that's your final question is, if I go back, let's talk about Andres' class. What tools does he use? And how does he take the book off the page? And how does he keep this really focused on what learners are doing at this stage, is reacting to the text in a post task? If you can put your comments now, please, in the comments. All right. Okay, so I'll just quickly go through it because I know we're running a bit out of time. So in that part, he used it like Padlet. It takes the book off the page because the learners are using Padlet to interact and treat it like a Facebook forum so they can argue and discuss their points of view about gaming. And again, it's simple. This is actually what we do when we read an interesting article, isn't it? Like, sometimes we tend to keyboard warrior a little bit, and he was getting learners to keyboard warrior in the class. Okay, then we've got agree and disagree. Absolutely, yeah. But in a really sort of collaborative and natural way too. So, just to close, these are just some points to remember. Remember, keep exploiting resources. Make sure that you think about multi-purpose uses for videos, for example. This could actually be like 2 hours of teaching if used properly and effectively. Think about sub-skills, language, different techniques, freeze framing, and really engaging tasks afterwards where learners can use that information and personalized as well. Think about utilizing what your learners have at home. This is just thinking about multi-levels, multi-ages, and again, it involves not that much preparation as well, but lots of production from your learners. And of course, the key thing is as well, that we all have to use a course book. But think about how it can be taken off the page in a really simple way, getting those to underline parts of the text with their Zoom tools and things like that. Okay, well, thank you very, very much for coming. I really appreciate it. It's wonderful to see. Actually, I recognize quite a few names here as well. So thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, this is your chance to answer now. So enjoy the rest of your Saturday, but please ask me any questions if necessary.
Okay. Hello, Liz, again.
Hello.
Okay, let's see. Well, actually, they are like thanking you for the session. It was excellent. It was, as always.
Thank you.
I don't know if somebody has any questions.
Any questions?
I can see my good friend Angel too over there.
Right. Yeah. Hi, Angel. Lovely to see you.
Okay. Nobody has questions?
No, just someone said he likes my enthusiasm. Thank you. My enthusiasm and energy. Thank you very much. Okay, then.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess.
Jesse Adams, I know him. It's quite funny. Quite a lot of people who I've been their trainer here, and that's really nice to reconnect. In that way. So, and of course you. Oh, no questions. That's wonderful. I'm just new.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you don't have any further questions. Thanks a lot, Liz, for sharing with us your knowledge, great ideas with us. on behalf of Mestizo Chapter Mexico City, we thank you, and we would like you to have this certificate of appreciation
That's wonderful.
for your participation in today's event. Thanks everyone for being here with us in this second event on these academic Saturdays. Please stay tuned for our next events and videos in our different platforms, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Thank you very much, and enjoy your long weekend. Thank you very much for everything.
Have a great long weekend, everybody, and thank you for coming. And hope I'll see some of you soon. Okay, bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you everybody for having joined us today. We hope you enjoyed your Saturday, your long weekend as well. And for all of you who registered, remember that the diplomas will be sent in the upcoming week. Remember that in order to receive your diploma, registration and feedback form completion are needed, okay? Thank you so much for being with us today. And don't forget to follow us on our social media. Here we have the banner with all our handles, and follow us so that you can stay tuned for our next academic Saturdays. I am Erika Mejia, and thank you so much for your attendance. Bye.